The Mysterious Island. Chapter 1. The Strange Map. 1. Sunny afternoon, three best friends, Lily, Tom, and Sarah, decided to explore the attic of Tom's old house. The attic was dark and full of dust, with old boxes stacked in every corner. They had often played together in this house, but they had never gone into the attic before. Today, they felt adventurous. As they carefully moved through the clutter, Lily noticed something unusual under a pile of old newspapers. It was an old, leather-bound book. She opened it to find that it wasn't a book at all. Inside was a folded piece of paper that looked like a map. "Hey, look at this!" Lily exclaimed. Tom and Sarah quickly gathered around her. They unfolded the map and saw that it was very old, with strange symbols and markings on it. At the top of the map, the words "Mysterious Island" were written in bold letters. "This must be a treasure map," Tom said excitedly. "But where is this island?" Sarah asked, puzzled. Tom's grandfather, who used to be a sailor, had once told him stories about a hidden island that no one had ever found. The island was said to be full of treasures, but also dangerous. Could this be the same island? "Let's find out," Tom said, his eyes shining with excitement. "We have to follow this map." Chapter 2. The Journey Begins. The next morning, the three friends set out on their journey. They packed food, water, a compass, and some tools they thought might be useful. They also brought a small boat, just in case they needed to cross any water. According to the map, the island was far from their town, hidden somewhere deep in the ocean. They decided to take the map to old Captain Joe, a retired sailor who lived nearby. Captain Joe had sailed the seas for many years and knew every island around. When they showed him the map, Captain Joe's eyes widened. "This is no ordinary map," he said in a low voice. "This is a map to the mysterious island. Many have tried to find it, but none have returned." The friends exchanged nervous glances, but they were determined. "We have to try," Lily said firmly. "We need to know what's on that island." Captain Joe saw the determination in their eyes. He sighed and said, "If you really want to go, I'll take you. But you must be careful. The island is full of surprises, and not all of them are good." The next day, they set sail on Captain Joe's boat. The sea was calm, and the sun was shining, but the friends couldn't shake off a feeling of unease. As they sailed farther from the shore, the water began to change. It became darker, and the waves grew bigger. A thick fog rolled in, making it hard to see. But Captain Joe knew the way. He followed the map carefully, steering the boat through the fog and rough seas. After what felt like hours, the fog began to clear, and they saw land ahead. "There it is," Captain Joe said, pointing to a small island in the distance. The Mysterious Island. Chapter 3. The Island of Secrets. The island looked peaceful from a distance, with white sandy beaches and tall palm trees. But as they got closer, they noticed something strange. The trees were much larger than normal, and the island was covered in a thick jungle. It felt like stepping into another world. They anchored the boat and stepped onto the beach. The air was warm and humid, and the jungle was full of strange sounds. Birds they had never seen before flew overhead, and the leaves of the trees rustled as if they were whispering secrets. Lily looked at the map. It showed a path leading from the beach to the center of the island, where an X marked the spot of the treasure. "We should follow this path," she said. As they walked, the jungle grew denser. The path was narrow and winding, and the trees seemed to close in around them. Tom noticed something odd. The ground was covered with strange, glowing plants that pulsed with a soft blue light. "What are these?" he asked, kneeling to get a closer look. "I don't know," Sarah replied, "but I've never seen anything like them before." Suddenly, they heard a rustling noise in the bushes. The friends froze. Out of the bushes stepped a small, furry creature with bright green eyes. It looked like a cross between a cat and a fox. "Wow, look at that!" Sarah whispered. The creature stared at them for a moment, then darted back into the bushes. "I think it wants us to follow it," Tom said. They decided to follow the creature. It led them deeper into the jungle, where the trees were so tall they blocked out the sun. The air was cool, and the only light came from the glowing plants. After a while, they reached a clearing. In the center of the clearing was a large stone door set into the side of a hill. The creature stopped in front of the door, then turned and looked at them, as if waiting for them to open it. Chapter 4. The Hidden Chamber. Lily studied the map again. It didn't show a door, but it did show that they were near the center of the island. "This must be the way to the treasure," she said. Tom and Sarah looked at the door. It was covered in moss and vines, and there were strange symbols carved into the stone. "How do we open it?" Tom asked. They searched the door for a handle or a keyhole, but found nothing. Then Sarah noticed something. "Look, the symbols on the door match the ones on the map." Lily took a closer look. She realized that the symbols were a kind of puzzle. They needed to press the symbols in the right order to open the door. Carefully, she pressed the first symbol. The door made a low rumbling sound. Then she pressed the second symbol, and the rumbling grew louder. When she pressed the third symbol, the door began to move. Slowly, the stone door slid open, revealing a dark tunnel leading into the hill. The creature darted inside, and the friends followed it. The tunnel was narrow and cold, and the walls were damp. They walked for what felt like a long time before they saw a faint light ahead. The tunnel opened into a large chamber. The walls of the chamber were covered in gold and jewels that sparkled in the light of glowing crystals. In the center of the chamber was a large stone pedestal, and on the pedestal was an ancient chest. The chest was made of dark wood and decorated with gold. It looked very old, but it was still intact. "This must be it," Tom said excitedly. Lily carefully opened the chest. Inside, they found a pile of gold coins, sparkling jewels, and a large old book. But there was something else in the chest, a small glowing orb. "What is that?" Sarah asked, pointing to the orb. "I don't know," Lily replied, "but it's beautiful." The orb was warm to the touch, and it glowed with a soft white light. It felt as if it was alive, and it seemed to pulse in time with their heartbeats. "I think this is the real treasure," Tom said. "The gold and jewels are valuable, but this orb feels special." As they were admiring the orb, the creature that had led them there made a soft noise. It was standing at the entrance to the chamber, looking at them with its bright green eyes. "I think it wants us to follow it again," Sarah said. Chapter 5. The Guardian of the Island. The friends followed the creature out of the chamber and back into the tunnel. But this time, the tunnel didn't lead them back the way they had come. Instead, it led them to another part of the island. They emerged from the tunnel into a beautiful garden. The garden was filled with colorful flowers and tall trees that seemed to touch the sky. In the center of the garden was a small pond, and by the pond stood an old man with a long white beard. The man looked at them and smiled. "Welcome, travelers," he said in a kind voice. "I see you have found the treasure." "Who are you?" Tom asked. "I am the guardian of the island," the man replied. "I have watched over this place for many years. The orb you carry is the heart of the island. It is a source of great power, but it must be protected." "Protected from what?" Sarah asked. "From those who would use it for evil," the guardian said. "The island is hidden from the world for a reason. Many have tried to find it, but only those with pure hearts can succeed." Lily looked at the orb in her hands. "What should we do with it?" she asked. "You must take it with you," the guardian said. "But be warned, once you leave the island, you cannot return. The orb will guide you and protect you, but it will also test you. You must use its power wisely." The friends were silent for a moment, thinking about what the guardian had said. Then Tom spoke up. "We will take the orb and protect it. We promise." The guardian smiled again. "I know you will. Now it is time for you to go." The creature that had led them there stepped forward and nuzzled their legs, as if saying goodbye. Then it turned and disappeared into the jungle. Chapter 6. The Return. The guardian led them back to the beach, where Captain Joe was waiting with the boat, The island seemed different now, more peaceful and calm. The sun was setting, casting a golden glow over the water. "Did you find what you were looking for?" Captain Joe asked as they climbed into the boat. "Yes," Lily said, holding the orb. "We found the treasure." Captain Joe smiled and nodded. "Then let's go home." As they sailed away from the island, the friends looked back one last time. The island was fading into the distance, becoming just a shadow on the horizon. But they knew they would never forget their adventure. The journey back was smooth and uneventful. The sea was calm, and the fog had lifted. They reached the shore as the first stars appeared in the sky. When they returned to Tom's house, they sat together in the living room, looking at the orb. It was still glowing softly, casting a warm light around the room. "What do we do now?" Sarah asked. "We keep our promise," Tom said. "We protect the orb and use its power for good." Lily nodded. "And we never forget the island or the guardian." The friends knew their lives would never be the same after their adventure. They had discovered something truly special, and they were determined to protect it. And so, the three friends made a pact. They would always look out for each other, and they would always keep the secret of the mysterious island safe. Chapter 7. The orb's power days turned into weeks, and the friends kept the orb hidden in a safe place. They didn't know exactly what the orb could do, but they felt its power. It seemed to give them strength and courage, and they began to notice small changes in themselves. Lily, who had always been shy, started to speak up more and share her ideas. Tom, who often struggled in school, found that he could understand things more easily. Sarah, who had always been afraid of heights, discovered that she could climb trees without fear. They realized that the orb was helping them in different ways, but they also knew they had to be careful. They didn't want anyone else to find out about the orb, especially not anyone who might use it for selfish reasons. One day, while they were sitting in Tom's backyard, they decided to test the orb's power. Lily held it in her hands and closed her eyes, trying to focus on a single thought. "What are you doing?" Tom asked. "I'm trying to see if the orb can show us something," Lily replied. Suddenly, the orb began to glow brighter, and an image appeared in Lily's mind. She saw a group of people in a faraway place, working together to build something. They looked happy and peaceful, but there was also a sense of urgency. "I think the orb is showing me something important," Lily said, opening her eyes. "These people need our help." Tom and Sarah looked at each other, then at the orb. "What should we do?" Sarah asked. "We have to find them," Tom said. "Maybe the orb is guiding us to them." Chapter 8. The Final Adventure. The friends knew they couldn't ignore the message from the orb. They packed their bags and set out on another journey, this time following the visions the orb showed them. Their journey took them across mountains, rivers, and deserts. Along the way, they met people who helped them and taught them new things. They learned about different cultures, tried new foods, and faced many challenges. But through it all, they never lost sight of their goal. Finally, after many weeks of travel, they reached the place the orb had shown them. It was a small village in the middle of a lush green valley. The people there welcomed them with open arms, and the friends quickly realized why they had been guided there. The village was in danger. A group of people wanted to destroy the village to build a large factory. The villagers were peaceful and didn't want to fight, but they needed help to protect their home. Lily, Tom, and Sarah knew what they had to do. They used the power of the orb to help the villagers. The orb gave them the strength and courage they needed to stand up to the people who wanted to destroy the village. They showed the villagers how to work together and use their skills to protect their land. In the end, the village was saved, and the people who wanted to build the factory realized the importance of preserving the environment. They agreed to work with the villagers to find a solution that would benefit everyone. The friends stayed in the village for a while, helping to rebuild and make improvements. They made new friends and learned more about themselves, but they knew they couldn't stay forever. The orb had shown them their purpose, and now it was time to move on. Chapter 9. The Legacy. When the friends finally returned home, they were different. They had grown and changed in many ways. They had seen the world and faced many challenges, but they had also discovered their true strengths. They decided to keep the orb safe but hidden, using its power only when it was truly needed. They knew that the world was full of both good and bad, and they wanted to use the orb's power to make a positive difference. Years passed, and the friends grew up. They went to different schools, started new jobs, and met new people. But they always stayed in touch, and they never forgot the mysterious island or the adventures they had shared. And so, they made a new pact. They would always stay connected, no matter where life took them. They would always protect the orb and use its power for good. And most importantly, they would always remember the mysterious island and the guardian who had trusted them with the island's greatest treasure. As they left Tom's house that day, they knew that their adventure was not over. There would be more challenges, more journeys, and more opportunities to make a difference in the world. But whatever happened, they knew they would face it together.